Imagine standing in front of one of the most famous paintings in the world, Van Gogh's Starry Night. You see the bold, swirling skies, the glowing moon, the fiery stars burning across the canvas, and that dark cypress tree stretching up like a flame toward heaven. At first glance, it feels like chaos frozen into beauty. But here's the question. What if this painting isn't just about beauty? What if Van Gogh hid something? Messages inside the strokes, colors, and composition that only reveal themselves when we look closer. This video will take you on a journey through the psychology of Van Gogh, the deeper layers of Starry Night, and the fascinating possibility that within this canvas lies not just art, but a secret dialogue between Van Gogh and the universe. Buckle up, because this is not your average art history lecture. This is a dive into the hidden codes of one of the most mysterious works in art history. Let's set the scene. It's June 1889. Van Gogh is staying at the Saint-Paul-de-Moselle Asylum in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, a small town in southern France. He has admitted himself after his mental breakdown in Arles, the infamous episode where he cut off part of his ear. Inside the asylum, surrounded by silence in the harsh Provençal landscape, Van Gogh paints Starry Night. It is not a commission. It is not a request. It's simply the cry of his soul, transferred into oil paint. Now, look closely at the painting. The night sky isn't calm. It moves. The swirls resemble something alive, almost like cosmic storms twisting across the heavens. Scientists have even analyzed the turbulence in Van Gogh's strokes and found astonishing similarities to real fluid dynamics. In other words, Van Gogh captured on canvas what the universe itself looks like in motion. Was that an accident, or was Van Gogh channeling something deeper? The cypress tree in the foreground is tall and dark, almost like a flame. To many, it's a symbol of death, since cypress trees were traditionally planted in cemeteries. So imagine this. Van Gogh places death itself in the center of his cosmic vision. It stretches upward, connecting earth and heaven, almost as if it's a bridge. Was Van Gogh trying to tell us about his own longing for peace, for release, for connection to something beyond this world? Remember, this was painted at a time when he was struggling with despair. Perhaps the cypress isn't just a tree. It's Van Gogh himself, reaching upward desperately toward the light of the stars. And then there's the village. This is where it gets fascinating. Van Gogh could see the asylum gardens and the Alpiles mountains from his room, but he could not see a village. That's something he added, almost like a dream version of a town, with the steeple of a church pointing toward the heavens. Why? Perhaps this was his way of grounding the chaos of the cosmos with a touch of human life. Or maybe the church steeple was his subtle reminder of spirituality. The villagers sleep peacefully under a sky that looks anything but peaceful. Is this Van Gogh's commentary on the human condition? That while the universe churns in wild chaos above us, most of us remain asleep to its mysteries. The hidden message may lie in the contrast itself. The quiet little village represents order, while the sky represents chaos. And between them, the cypress, Van Gogh himself, torn between peace and madness, between life and death, between silence and storms. Psychologists who study Van Gogh's art often point out how Starry Night reflects his inner world. The brushstrokes are thick, almost sculptural, forcing you to feel the energy of his mind. The colors are not realistic, but emotional. Blue dominates, not just as a color of the night sky, but as a color of melancholy, of infinity, of depth. The yellows of the stars burn against the blue like little flames of hope. This is not just a landscape, it's a map of Van Gogh's mental state. But beyond psychology, there is something even more intriguing: symbolism. Some scholars believe that Starry Night holds hidden religious meaning. Van Gogh was raised in a Protestant family, and though he often struggled with organized religion, he was obsessed with spirituality. The stars, for him, weren't just dots of light, they were destinations. In one of his letters, he wrote, "Just as we take the train to travel to Tarascon or Rouen, we take death to reach a star." Imagine that. For Van Gogh, the stars themselves were the afterlife, places the soul travels to when the body is gone. That casts Starry Night in an entirely new light. It isn't just a view of the sky, it's a vision of eternity. Now think of the moon, bright, exaggerated, glowing larger than life. Some believe Van Gogh was depicting not just the moon, but the presence of a higher power. And remember, the swirling motion of the sky feels like energy, like a force that's alive. Was Van Gogh painting the cosmos as he felt it? Or was he trying to show us something invisible that only he could perceive? And here's something truly chilling: the timing. Van Gogh painted Starry Night in June 1889. Just a year later, in July 1890, he would be dead from a gunshot wound, most likely self-inflicted. Knowing this, The painting feels like a farewell letter. The cypress tree, the stars, the restless sky, all of it feels like a man trying to make sense of life before stepping into death. Could Starry Night have been Van Gogh's last coded message, hidden inside beauty, saying goodbye to the world in the only way he knew, through paint? Let's not forget the scientific twist. In 2004, physicists studied Van Gogh's paintings, including Starry Night, and discovered that his swirling patterns actually resemble the mathematics of turbulence. That means Van Gogh, without formal training in physics, captured one of nature's most complex phenomena with just his eyes and his brush. This is not just art, it's science hidden inside emotion. Could that be the hidden message? That beauty and science, chaos and order, art and mathematics are not separate but deeply connected. And then there's the question of perspective. Look again at the sky. It doesn't look flat, it looks three-dimensional, as if you're being pulled into it. That's not an accident. Van Gogh wanted the viewer to feel swallowed by the night, overwhelmed, just as he was overwhelmed by his emotions. It's almost as if he wanted us to step into his mind, to experience the storm within him. That, in itself, is a hidden message, empathy through art. But let's go deeper still. Some historians argue that Van Gogh's Starry Night may be influenced by the astronomical events of his time. In 1889, there were bright appearances of Venus, the morning star. And indeed, if you look carefully, one particularly bright star in the painting is thought to be Venus. If that's true, then Van Gogh wasn't just inventing chaos. He was merging reality with imagination. He took the actual sky and transformed it into his own psychological vision. The hidden message here is that reality and imagination are inseparable. We see the world not as it is, but as we feel it. Let's pause for a moment and think about the sheer impact of this painting. Millions of people every year stand before it at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, hypnotized. Some feel peace, others feel sorrow, others feel a strange energy they can't quite explain. That is the power of Van Gogh's hidden messages. They don't just stay on the canvas, they leap into your soul. And perhaps that is the ultimate secret of Starry Night. It isn't just a painting to look at, it's an experience to enter. Van Gogh poured his torment, his hope, his longing, his vision of eternity into those swirling skies. And in doing so, he left behind something more than art. He left a coded message to humanity, that beauty can be born from pain, that chaos can hold meaning, and that even in the darkest night, the stars burn with hope. So next time you see Starry Night, don't just see paint on canvas, see Van Gogh's silent letter to us. See the bridge between madness and genius, between despair and wonder. See the hidden messages glowing in every swirl of the sky. Because in those swirls, in those burning stars, Van Gogh might just be whispering across time. I was here, I felt this, and now you feel it too.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Feel free to share it with a friend who loves a good mystery. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so you won't miss the next story. There's a lot more to uncover, and I'd love to have you along for the journey.